In this video, I'm going to show you how to be more charismatic with your YouTube advertising so you can get cheaper leads, cheaper sales, and make more profits. So let's get right into it. Make sure to smash the like button and hit the subscribe button so you're the next to know when the next video comes out. So this video is for you if you're actually in your own ads. So a lot of you probably sell courses, or perhaps you sell lead generation services and you need an actor in front of the camera and that actor is you. So I'm going to show you how to actually be more charismatic with your ads, which is really, really important if you want to get lower cost per conversions. So I've actually played around with this a lot, and what I've seen is that when you have a charismatic person on camera, you can typically get costs that are 40 to 50% cheaper. So I've had experiences where we've worked with clients who weren't really that interesting on camera, and even though they were still profitable, their cost per leads were significantly higher, often 2 times higher than, let's say, somebody who was more charismatic. So what we eventually figured out is we would just hire spokespersons for those clients. So that is an option for you. If you feel like you don't want to go through the work of being charismatic on camera and making really great ads, you could hire somebody from Fiverr or Upwork or FreeUp to actually be a spokesperson and appear in your ad for you. Now keep in mind that it's usually best that the same person who's doing the ad does the webinar or the video sales letter, so you want to keep that congruency up. Now let's get into the first tip. So what's really important is tonality. So what I mean by tonality is the way that basically your sentences end. This is really important, right? Sometimes you'll hear people saying a sentence like this: "Hey, how's it going?" Right? Like you hear that at the end, the going is just it's just a little bit too long. They're just trying a little bit too hard to impress you or be friendly with you, and it comes across as try hard. So sometimes when people are shooting videos, they can sound like that, where instead of having a strong neutral kind of tone where you're kind of emphasizing the beginning of the sentence the same as the end of the sentence, you're kind of doing the opposite, which is it starts off like, "Hey, how's it going?" where it doesn't sound confident, right? So you want to avoid that. You want to have a confident tonality, and usually neutral is good. You don't want to go too far into the opposite, which is a breaking report, which is kind of like an authority figure speech, right? So if a policeman comes up to you and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" right? Like at the end, that "on" is like really emphasized. It's really loud, it's really strong, and that's meant to kind of make you a little bit fearful. Now, I have seen people who use that in ads, and it can go with them if it's congruent to their personality, right? So for example, if you're a fitness coach, sometimes this can work because people often want a fitness coach that's gonna kind of basically tell them how it is, right? So that's breaking report. Really what I do is stay neutral, which is what I'm doing right now, where I'm not really going high pitched, I'm not going low at the end either. So I don't go, "Hey, how's it going?" and I don't go, "Hey, how's it going?" right? Like I'm kind of in the middle, "Hey, how's it going?" right? So that's what people like, is that neutral tone where you're being friendly, but you're confident and you're coming at them as an equal, and you're not coming at them either as a subordinate or somebody who's like an authority figure. And that's basically what I recommend that my clients do. Now, a second big part of how you speak is your pace of speech and your volume. So one thing I've noticed is some people will speak really, really slowly when it comes to ads. And that often leads people a little bit bored, right? So they'll be like, "Hey, in this video, I want to show you how to run YouTube ads." So number one, they're speaking really slowly. And number two, it sounds flat, it sounds monotone. When I speak, you can kind of hear how I emphasize certain words versus not emphasize other words. And also I kind of have differences in speed. So I may say a few words a little bit faster and a few words a little bit slower. So there's that kind of variation, right? And that's what good speakers do. They're not just always speaking at the same pace of speech, and they're usually not speaking too fast or too slow. What they have is a nice middle ground, and they might sometimes speed up that speech when they need to and sometimes slow it down. So you want to avoid being monotone at all costs, and you want to play around with this. And the best way to do this is to just ask a friend, right? Shoot some videos, ask a friend, "Hey, what do you think of how I speak in this video?" And they'll tell you, "Hey, I think you're being a little bit slow. I think you should speak a bit faster." Or they'll tell you, "Hey man, I think you're speaking way too fast. I can't understand you because you're just going fast, fast, fast." And that can help you kind of dial in with that. Now, the third part of being charismatic on camera that I've often found is really important is your body language and expressiveness. Now, if you're on camera and all you're doing is you're static like this and you're speaking, it's a little bit more boring as opposed to actually using your hands, your body, perhaps moving a bit. And that really adds a lot more to the experience, and people often find that more interesting, right? So a really great example of this is Grime Stefan. If you watch his videos, he does an amazing job with his hand movements. One thing to keep in mind as well if you're shooting ads is actually moving when you're shooting ads. So a lot of really great video ads I see involve movement. So somebody might be walking down a hallway, or perhaps they might be outside and walking around a bit. And usually that movement keeps people engaged. So motion creates emotion, right? When you're moving, it creates emotion. And people on the other side, they feel that as well, versus somebody just sitting there. The fourth key to being charismatic on camera is avoiding mistakes. Now, I'm not the best at this. A lot of times you will hear me saying ums and ahs. I try to cut down on them, but it's something you have to be aware of, right? If you're constantly umming and ahhing in your videos, it can throw people off and it can be distracting. So you really want to make sure when you're shooting to really get rid of those and ensure that you're actually speaking smoothly. With video ads, this is more important than, let's say, a content video. If it's a longer 25-minute video, people will forgive those ums and ahs. But when you're talking about a 1.5-minute ad, you really want to make sure that's done as well as possible to keep engagement up so people take action. And it's a lot easier to actually do it with a shorter ad because really, with 90 seconds, it's a lot easier to avoid making mistakes. With these shorter ads, you can take multiple takes, and that just makes it a lot easier because in an hour, you could take 10 takes and eventually you'll just get it down. So that's one of the advantages of doing shorter ads versus doing longer videos. So how do you actually practice shooting ads? So obviously we've covered a lot over here. There's so much to this. My suggestion is you spend an hour just going through your video ads and just practicing tonality. You don't even need to necessarily really record it. You could just do it with a Loom video, right? Just have your webcam recording you and focus on just getting these principles down. I found that even spending an hour doing this will make your ad so much better. Another tip I have is actually practice the ad the day before you shoot. So don't do it on the same day. That allows you to actually go through the motions, figure out what you're doing well, figure out what you can improve on, and improve upon that in that 1 hour session. And when you need to shoot the ad the next day, you'll actually be much better. You'll have slept on it. You would have subconsciously absorbed this while you sleep, and the next day you will actually be a lot smoother. When you do shoot the ad, make sure to take multiple takes and really take your time with it. If I'm shooting 4 or 5 ads, I will set aside 2 hours for that so that I have 4 to 5 takes of each ad and I can make sure they're done really, really well. One final tip, use a teleprompter for shooting ads. So for shooting a content video like this, I don't really need to use a teleprompter. I have my notes on my screen and I know the key points and I don't need to be perfect. However, if you're shooting an ad, you do want to be as close to perfect as possible, which is where a teleprompter really, really allows you to get to that level of smoothness because you're not thinking about what words are next, you're just focusing on your tonality and delivering the words properly. And if you've written the script, it will actually help you because you know what's coming up in the teleprompter, and that just allows you to really focus on the tonality. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to smash the subscribe button, hit the like button. Now, if you would like to take your YouTube advertising to the next level, we do have a full in-depth training program where we go deep into YouTube ads. If you're interested in that, click the link below to learn more.